And this was I call it rebooting your system. This was a really empowering part of this plan because I realized that I didn't have to just sit around waiting for myself to get better. I used to feel like that. I used to feel like I used to feel like I was on a roller coaster and I was just white knuckling it, holding on for dear life, waiting for it to end. But I realized that you don't need to do that. If you can start to learn what you need to do to manage yourself, to take care of yourself and get yourself back to a healthy, balanced mental state, you can create a plan for yourself to reboot your system and get you back to balance, get you back to maintenance mode. And so I started to develop a plan for myself to start helping me learn how to successfully manage my bipolar mood swings. And over the years, I developed something that now I call it the Mood Cycle Survival Guide. And it's been a really important tool to help me learn how to successfully navigate my bipolar disorder. And the thing that has been most important about this is acknowledging that I'm going to have mood swings, and then learning how to manage them effectively so that it lessens the impact on me and my family and shortens the duration of the mood swing or the mood cycle. So I want to just give you a little bit of insight into how that was developed and why it's so important, because it's something that I encourage everybody to develop for themselves. I offer it for free. There's a free ebook and workbook that I offer for free on my website because I really want everybody to have access to this tool. The first piece to it is identifying who your response team is. Who are the people that are going to help you when you need help, when you're either manic or depressed? And this is a really important part because when you are experiencing a bipolar mood swing, you are not able to always function fully. When you're manic, a lot of times we make really irrational decisions, and our spouses, if you're married or if you're in a serious relationship, don't know what to do. They don't know how to help you. They don't know how to respond to it. They need to have a defined role in helping you. And they need to know what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate. Defining clear boundaries for your response team is really important. Making sure that you know who your therapist is, who your doctor is. Make sure that your partner has access to them if that would be appropriate. And clearly understand what their role is in your care and how to reach out to them when you need help. Developing a team of people that are willing to support you and identifying clear boundaries is really important. That's the first piece of this plan, is identifying who your response team is. The second piece is and I started recognizing how important this was identifying, I call it your early warning system. How do you know when you are becoming manic or depressed? I used to struggle with that. I didn't recognize mania until I was in full-blown mania. I didn't recognize it. And I used to get really stressed because I couldn't tell if I was manic or just feeling really good that day. And I think sometimes I might have actually triggered mania unintentionally because I was so worried about it and started obsessing about whether or not I was manic. And I think I might have triggered manic episodes that way. The same thing with depression. Like sometimes it was such a familiar feeling that I didn't really know if I was depressed. And I recognized how important it was for me to identify what the symptoms were that actually indicated those states of mind, so that I would know, oh man, I'm getting manic. I need to, put some boundaries around my activities so that I don't make bad choices right now. Or I'm depressed. I need to take care of myself during this time. But identifying what those symptoms were, and it's not going to be the same for everybody. For me, my manic, the two big red flags that indicate that I'm in a manic episode are I cannot sleep at night. I stay up, I can't sleep. My mind races. It goes really fast. And so those two things are big red flags. Those mean I'm entering a manic episode. For depression, the two things that I experience when I'm depressed that are big red flags for me are I'm exhausted, like absolutely exhausted. I cannot function, and my brain gets really muddy. So the way that my brain works is a big red flag on both sides. The way that my fatigue level or not an ability to sleep, those are things for me. So identifying those symptoms was really important. I call that my early warning system. The other thing that was really helpful in that part was identifying triggers. When I started recognizing these things trigger, so one of the things I've talked about before is that my husband and I have recognized that moving is a trigger for hypomania for me. Another trigger for hypomania is when I train for events. So I used to do triathlons, and we recognized that every time I would train for an event, I would create a hypomanic state for myself. And as I've said before, you cannot jump on the roller coaster and jump off partway through. So creating an early warning system for yourself as part of this plan is really important, because it helps you to start recognizing when you are starting to get into a manic or depressive episode, so that you can then put the rest of the plan into place. Reach out to the people that are your support team, your response team, and ask them for the help that they've agreed to give you. The third piece of this plan is figuring out what your power priorities are. And this was something that was interesting. It kind of developed over time. The first part of it was when I would get hypomanic, I would forget to eat. That was something that I did pretty regularly. I would get going on big projects and get hyper focused on what I was doing, and I would forget to eat. And my children, when I had little children, they would either have to be very loud and let me know that they were hungry to remind me that they needed to eat, or they would go scavenge in the kitchen for food because they were hungry and mom was like going on a big project and I was busy. And that was mortifying for me as a mom to realize that I forgot to feed my children. So, the other side of that was when I got depressed, I would try to keep doing everything that I normally did. And it felt like trying to climb a hill in a mudslide. I couldn't do everything. And so because I was trying to do everything, the things that were most important weren't getting done. So I developed this part of this plan for myself, which is the power priorities. What are the things that are most important? What are the things that need to be done no matter what? And I kept it minimal because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't trying to do everything and accidentally triggering hypomania in myself by trying to make sure I was doing all the things. I just had a few things. Eating is a big one. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you have bipolar disorder, you'll know that sometimes nutrition is not our forte. And so making sure that I got fed and that my family got fed, making sure that my children got where they needed to go, especially when they started school, making sure that they were being taken care of. And so identifying what I call the power priorities was the third step in this plan. And then the final step in the plan was making sure that I figured out a way to get myself back to a healthy, balanced mental state. And this was I call it rebooting your system. This was a really empowering part of this plan, because I realized that I didn't have to just sit around waiting for myself to get better. I used to feel like that. I used to feel like I used to feel like I was on a roller coaster and I was just white knuckling it, holding on for dear life, waiting for it to end. But I realized that you don't need to do that. If you can start to learn what you need to do to manage yourself, to take care of yourself and get yourself back to a healthy, balanced mental state, you can create a plan for yourself to reboot your system and get you back to balance, get you back to maintenance mode. And I still use this. I rarely experience any kind of mood shift even anymore. Just normal kind of day-to-day regular things that normal people experience. But I've mostly healed my bipolar disorder. But I still have to take care of myself. I still have to do the things to take care of my brain and take care of my body so that I stay healthy and balanced.